So a month ago, I made a video talking the best Netflix originals to binge watch. Today, we're talking shows that did not originate on Netflix. What is up, Netflix fans? Welcome back to my channel. We're always looking for something to watch on Netflix, and this is a series I've been doing for a couple of months now. I appreciate your all support. But today, for the first time, we're talking shows that did not originate on Netflix. Whether it's NBC, ABC, Fox, Comedy Central, doesn't matter. I'm going to give you guys a list of shows that are worth binge watching that may not be talked about as often as the Netflix originals, but trust me, in their time, they were talked about, and these are some of the best shows that I have ever watched. Now, I'm going to stray away from the obvious ones like The Office, Breaking Bad, Parks and Rec, because those are shows that I've talked about before, and everyone knows they're on Netflix. And everyone may know these other shows are on Netflix, but my goal is to get one of you all to watch these for the first time. Come back, give me your opinion, and please, these are not the only shows on Netflix, so I need your comments down below. Is there a show that I didn't talk about that's worth a watch? Get in that comment section. Just as many good choices as there are in this video, not gonna lie, you guys are better than me. All right, I said no Breaking Bad, but I didn't say we couldn't talk Better Call Saul. Saul Goodman is back, Bob Odenkirk. This is the prequel slash semi-sequel series to Breaking Bad. Now, if you are the hardcore Breaking Bad fan, you've most likely seen this show, or at least caught up to where it is now. There are currently 5 seasons total, 4 seasons on Netflix, but if you're just starting your binge session, by the time you get finished with Season 4, Season 5 will be ready to come on the platform, and there is one more season remaining, a Season 6. But you have Jimmy McGill, a.k.a. a young Saul Goodman. This is the early days of this lawyer as he's covering the early days of Jimmy as he's evolving into this ethically challenged criminal attorney. He's slowly turning into Saul Goodman. You have the return of Jonathan Banks, who plays ex-cop Mike. The show crosses paths with numerous regulars from Breaking Bad, showing the early days of how some of these organizations got started, and then flashing back and forth between different timelines where we see our characters playing out certain storylines that continued from Breaking Bad. This is a show that I just recently, well, in the last couple of months, started watching for the first time. I'm up to the end of Season 4, so I haven't caught the new season, but I've watched everything on Netflix currently. And let me tell you, those who truly believe Breaking Bad is the greatest show of all time need to see what Better Call Saul has to offer, because it is very close in terms of quality. Next up, another show I just recently started watching for the first time, created by Dan Harmon, aka one of the creators of Rick and Morty, and mostly directed by the Russo brothers, Joe and Anthony Russo. There's a reason why we get a lot of community cameos in the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. This is one of the places where they got their start. And let me tell you, that combined with the talent, Allison Brie, Ken Jeong, Donald Glover, Chevy Chase, Joe McHale. Guys, this show is spectacularly hilarious. And at the beginning, you know, I'm sitting back thinking, well, it's kind of like The Office, a little bit like Parks and Rec. Maybe not as good. It took a bit to find its footing, but once it found its footing, it has thrived non-stop up until I got to where I am, which is Season 4. Austin and his Season 4s. I have 2 seasons to go, so I can't vouch for the ending of this series. I may get to the end and be like, it's just the biggest bummer of all time. But still, guys, 4 seasons in, Community is everything that I wanted it to be up until this point. You have a suspended lawyer who is forced to enroll in a community college with an eccentric staff and an eccentric student body, and pretty much everyone involved is firing on all cylinders. I mean, you look at the talent here. How is this not funny at the end of the day? And sometimes it's a different style of humor. It's a bit more sarcastic than what we're used to. It's a bit more outlandish at times than what seems to be the tone at the beginning. But like I said, when these kinds of shows find their footing, like A Good Place, like a Parks and Rec, like an Office, they tend to thrive. This and the other comedy I'm watching right now, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, they're both hitting their strides, and I'm just sitting back going, this is just goodness. About to do a double dose of Ted Danson. Let's start with a show that I just mentioned, and that is The Good Place, which is an NBC show. It is currently on Netflix. You have one Kristen Bell, who is just the most likable and sweet human being on the face of the earth, so I'm always rooting for her. And then, like I said, Ted Danson, who is fantastic in this show, but the overall cast, I mean, William Jackson Harper is really good as well, but you have 4 people, and their otherworldly frenemies struggle in the afterlife to define what it means to be good. Moral messages are underlined in a very unusual way on this show. The only thing allowed in this place is good actions and good people. And this positivity is praised to a ridiculous degree, while things such as vulgar language and cursing and defrauding people of their money, things that we do in this life on a daily basis, are not allowed, aka the good place. But it's the journey of the characters. It's the conversations. It really comes down to the dialogue. I mean, there are laughs in this show, don't get me wrong, but you really care about everyone involved here. You have a talented cast, a ridiculously talented cast, and one that I'm following their careers individually now, whereas I really wasn't prior to The Good Place. But it's such a consistent show in terms of heart, and you have Michael Schur, who was a writer on Parks and Rec and The Office. Again, with Parks and Rec and The Office, Austin, what? I mean, you got some talented people working on those shows. But one of those talented people, Michael Schur, who brings everything that I love about his writing to The Good Place. He's the creator here, and it's just such a good show. And how often do you watch something like that and you feel for these situations like you do? So if you guys like this kind of show, it's got some comedy, it's got a bit of drama, it is fantastical, a fantasy-esque show, this is one for you. And then the other Ted Danson show is Cheers. I won't talk about it for too long, because if you're watching this and you grew up with the show, you're like, come on, everybody's seen Cheers. But the younger generation, I implore you to give this show a chance. It's just kind, it's good-hearted, it's got comedy, it's got drama, it's got everything that you want. 22 minutes per episode. It's just like the ultimate sitcom. Everybody knows your name. I mean, that is something that I think even kids know now when they hear it, but maybe they don't know it's associated with Cheers. So you have the regulars of the Boston bar Cheers, and they're sharing their experiences and lives with each other while drinking or working at the bar where everybody knows your name. You have plenty of shows that spun off from this show. You have plenty of characters that are iconic at this point, and every episode holds something different. Sometimes they're a bit funnier, sometimes they're a bit more full of heart, but at the end of the day, Cheers is something to check out. Now, the final 3 shows I'm talking about are all in the sci-fi landscape, and I'm not going to talk as in-depth about them, because if you are a fan of these particular projects, you have most likely watched these shows. But for those who have watched them, now you can rewatch them because they are on Netflix. I didn't know Star Trek and Star Trek The Next Generation, and 3 or 4 others, but those are the 2 that I respond to the most, are on Netflix every episode. If you're a Star Trek fan, you get the OG cast with William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy. You get a little Patrick Stewart. Anything that you want in the Star Trek world. Maybe not everything, but a lot of it's on Netflix for you all to check out. And my brother-in-law is actually watching through Star Trek for the first time right now, and he's loving it. Some of it, sure, is a bit dated, but they're so much fun to revisit. I grew up with The Next Generation, watching it with my dad, so this is something that I would love to go back to and revisit. And then you have The Twilight Zone. Maybe the OG, the original sci-fi series on television. Obviously, you have Jordan Peele tackling a new version of that right now, but it's so fun to go back to the world where Rod Serling is taking us into the Twilight Zone, where ordinary people find themselves in extraordinarily astounding situations, which they each try to solve in a remarkable manner. Speaking of William Shatner, possibly my favorite episode, and it's funny because the reason I went and watched this for the first time is when Ace Ventura did, "There's someone on the wings," so I said, "What's that from?" "Oh, The Twilight Zone. Maybe I should watch this show." I watched it. Not every episode works, but the majority of them are super fun. So 3 sci-fi series. We've talked a little bit of everything: comedy, drama, emotion, and now sci-fi. So these are all shows that I just think are worth watching, most of them big name shows. So if you've seen all of these, 1, I'm thoroughly impressed, but 2, it makes a lot of sense. But I would love to see in the comments down below, how many of these shows have you seen? Do you think these are all shows worth binging on Netflix, and do they make good binge sessions? Thank you guys so much for supporting this video. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button if you'd like to see more What to Watch on Netflix videos. Thank you to all of my patrons for supporting this channel. All right, guys, I'll see you soon.